Good morning, it's Shanna. We are going to talk about decks that I brought in December and also decks that I used in December. I guess sort of a versus. What I really wanted to do today was what I brought in this year versus what I used this year, but I started writing down in March what decks I brought in, and by the time I hit May, I think I was at like 15. And I just wasn't really, I don't think that showing 15 decks for every 3 months, so I don't know, what is that, like 50 decks, or I don't know math, but it felt like way too many decks to try and show. Even if I just showed like the front, that was just a lot of decks to get through. And then I thought maybe I would split it and do one video of what I brought in and one video of what I used, but I've kind of been doing that. Like at the end of each month, I've been showing what I used and what I've brought in. So I didn't really feel like I needed to repeat necessarily. So we're just going to continue what I've been doing with end of the month, what I bought and what I used. So let's just get started. I only bought 3 this month, which for me is, kind of light. It actually was kind of nice to only bring in 3. That being said, I have, 5 or 6 on Kickstarter that I'm waiting on, and I just ordered one, I think yesterday afternoon, Christmas Day afternoon, that I've been thinking about for a while, and I just thought, you know what, it's not that expensive, I'll bring it in. So I'm waiting for that one. So technically I've written that one down as a purchase, which is the Way Home Tarot. I'm intrigued by that deck. I'm very curious. I've thought about it for a long time, and the white space was the reason I was drawn to it, and it was also the reason I hesitated in buying it, because the few decks that I have purchased with that white space, like the Line Strider, Hedgewitch Botanical Oracle, Winter Seer, all of those, I love the look of them, but up until a month or so ago, I had a hard time using them. For whatever reason, I couldn't quite get into it. But then a few videos ago, I combined 2 of the decks, the Line Strider and the Otherkin's Tarot. I think that's what it is. And I've been using it ever since, and I've been really enjoying it. So I thought I would give the Way Home a try. And being an indie deck, I figured, again, it wasn't terribly expensive. So it's one that I could easily rehome if I don't feel connected to it, and would also feel very, bummed if I did miss out on it if it ever went out of print. So that was a long-winded explanation about one deck, but okay, so let's get started with what I did bring in this month. And we're going to start with my favorite one that I was very pleasantly surprised by, the Dreamsong Oracle. And I kind of went into this a little bit, I think, in one of my last videos. I'm just not super drawn to this kind of imagery. I feel like it's a little bit oversaturated. I feel like, not in color, just this style seems very popular right now. And there's so many to choose from. I don't really feel drawn to any of them, or hadn't. But there was something about this deck. I got this in at work. I'm going to move these. I always try so hard to make it look cute, and then it's just in my way. So we're just going to move stuff. So I brought a bunch of decks in to my work. As I've mentioned, I purchased decks for my work. And this was one of them. And they always US Games usually will send us a little bag of samples, like 3 or 4 different cards from each of the decks they send. So they sent some samples of this, and I didn't really go through something this month. A family member of mine went through something this month, and I'm trying to remember exactly how this went down. It doesn't even matter. I won't get into it because it's private, but I pulled a card from this deck. It doesn't really matter the order of or when it was pulled, and it meant something to me. Just the 3 card sample pack that they sent, that one card meant something to me. And so I felt like I needed to get this deck. And, as a mass market deck, I didn't feel bad about just rushing in and buying it. I didn't watch a walkthrough. So yeah, I brought it home and immediately realized that it went really well with my vintage Christmas tarot. And being that it's December and I was already using the vintage Christmas tarot, it felt right, and it looks beautiful with my little bird tarot. And the messages are just really potent, I guess, for lack of a better term. I don't know. It just came to me in the right moment at the right time, and has been giving me these messages that feel personal all month long. And I'm okay with saying that I am obsessed with this deck. I have been thoroughly enjoying it. The colors are, I don't know, everything about this deck is perfect. And I don't say that very often. The phrase at the bottom, the write-ups in the book, there are a couple of things in the book that just make me kind of like roll my eyes or whatever. But for the most part, I was pleasantly surprised by this deck. And it's been giving me not just straightforward and honest readings, but readings that really felt relevant in that moment for that thing that, whatever it is I'm going through, whatever it is I'm asking. It felt very personal to me. And I think that's so important in a deck. And I feel like sometimes we don't really get that in a deck. And so we like it for other reasons, which is great and fine. But when we can find those decks that just talk to us and answer our questions, in those moments, I don't know, it felt perfect. So this is a fast favorite of mine. And I do like the artwork. And I feel like the tones of this deck are a little different than a lot that are out right now. A lot of them are kind of like, I don't know, brighter and sunnier, where this feels a little bit moodier, I guess. I don't know, for whatever reason, these collage decks don't really ever kind of elicit that moodiness. But it doesn't feel broody, if that makes sense. Yeah, I love it. This was one of my favorite ones that I pulled this month. I don't know. If you have been on the fence, if you've considered this deck and you like the artwork, you like Angie Solin's, and what is her name? Marta Orlowska. If you like her artwork, and you can afford it, I would say grab it. It's worth it to try out, and I've been pleasantly surprised over and over by this deck. I'm hoping that this works beyond December. I'm pretty seasonal when I use my decks, and I'm hoping that this can kind of carry through, which I think it will, but we'll see. So that was the first one that I brought in this month. The second one that I brought in is the Enchanted Forest Felines. I first saw this deck on Robin's Reflections, a walkthrough on her channel, and it's just, the box was what caught my attention first. It's like a miniature version of Llewellyn's classic boxes. It's kind of perfect in a tiny little package that you can put on your shelf, and it fits with so many other decks. But it's another cat deck, and I don't need a lot of cat decks. They're cute, but I don't need them. I don't use them a ton, so I hesitate to buy too many. I have the Soul Cats, which I love, I adore. I would say that is my cat deck, and I have a couple others, but they're just okay. They're just ones that kind of I have because I like the artwork, not necessarily because I use them. So I hesitated in getting this one. But for my birthday, my husband and I drove out to the coast, and specifically, we drove about 2 hours to get to one specific store that I wanted to go to. Oh, I guess I'll show you. Where did it go? So there's a store out on the coast. It's called Tah-Lume. I will link it below. It is the best metaphysical, witchy, whatever you want to call it, shop I've ever been in. The vibe there is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's woman owned, which I love, but I don't know. Maybe that's why the vibe is good. But regardless, my daughter and I went in back in May, I want to say. And the minute I walked in, it just felt good. Like sometimes you walk into one of those shops and it's like, it's fine or whatever. But the vibe maybe just feels like stagnant or tired or stuffy. I don't know. And sometimes they're maybe a little too over the top for me personally. I know there's been a couple times I've gone into shops up in Portland and they've been so busy and so crazy that it's far too overstimulating for me. And so I have a hard time staying in the store for a long time. But this store is not like that. So if you're in the area, if you're traveling through the area, I highly recommend this shop. All of that being said, we walked in after this 2-hour drive from where we live, and the biggest reason I wanted to go back, like I said, my daughter and I had gone this spring, was because they had these athames, and I regretted not buying one. They had several to choose from, so I knew I wanted to go back. I really wanted to bring one into my collection. I do already have an athame, but I don't know. It was one I found off of Etsy, so it wasn't one that I could like hold or pick up or kind of get a vibe for before purchasing it. So it was fine. But this one, I don't know. They had, I want to say probably 8 different ones there that were just all different. And it was a toss up between this one and one other. And so my husband is so, he's just very, I don't know. He's just turned into this like really cool person about all of this that tarot and witchy and all of the things. So he was in the shop, he was looking through things, he found some D&D dice, so that was fun for him. Well, I don't know, I guess it was fun. Fun for what it was, right? So I grabbed this one and the other athame that I was drawn to, and I asked him which one he thought was cooler. And he pointed at this one, and this was the first one I had picked up. I like the handle of it. It feels good in my hand. And I have pretty big hands, and for being just such a tiny little knife, athame, it just feels good. And the detail on the blade is very cool. I just think I don't know, it looks like thumbprints or peacock feathers. And I liked the sheath because I can, if I wanted to, which I haven't ever done, but if I wanted to put it on my belt loop, like if I was doing a circle with other people or something and I wanted to have it on me, I could easily put it on my belt loop. And it snaps in and just generally is a beautiful athame. So I was thrilled to find this. This is, kind of my main purpose in going back to the shop. But I don't know, it was one of those things where I was like, I wasn't looking for a tarot deck, but it was my birthday and I was kind of a little bit bummed. I was like, man, I would have liked to have had, a tarot deck for the day, but they don't have a huge selection, and most of their stuff is stuff I'd seen before. Even this, in the spring, it was kind of stuff I'd seen before. So I just kind of perused their shelf, and up on the top shelf, back in the corner, they had 2 of these decks plus a sample deck. So I didn't even go through the sample deck. I snagged my copy and we walked up to the counter. I was ready. So I'm thrilled to have this. It is actually really cute. The artwork is even more cute than I remember it on Robin's Reflections. It's classic Llewellyn cardstock. It's pretty thin, but it shuffles well. I like the colors. It's not overly cartoony. And I really like that for a cat deck, most cat decks, in my opinion, or animal decks in general, I think are difficult or can be difficult for beginner readers, which I'm not a beginner reader, but if you were, I would say this would be a good one because it shows in the card what the card is, right? So I think you can kind of get the meaning out of it even as a beginner. And I do really, really enjoy this artwork. Like I get goosebumps looking at it. It makes me happy. So I'm thrilled to have this one. This is the back. It's just cute without being cutesy, in my opinion. Oops. So we've got 3 of saucers. That's the cups, which I don't know how I feel about their switch in suits, because like I said, saucers is cups, which to me, saucers would have made more sense in my head as pentacles. But let's see, the other one is branches is wands. Let's see, dandelions is swords, which I can get behind that. And then pentacles is mushrooms, which I don't know. I feel like the saucers and the mushrooms could have been flip-flopped, but that's just me. I don't know. So very cute deck. I've not used it. I pulled it out. I think I want to say it was like that night or the next day, and did just a really, really surface level interview spread. And usually I like to ask, introduce yourself. How can we best work together? What are you here to teach me? And I feel like there's one other question. I don't remember. But yeah, really basic surface level. And I was really tired. It had been a very long day. And I don't really remember the spread. So I feel like maybe it just wasn't quite the right moment to get into an introduction. And for a cat deck, that makes sense. Like if it's not in the mood to chat, it's not going to. So I just think it's cute and sweet. And I like the scene that they've set up for each of the cards. They make sense. I love this sun card. Sun cards are very hard, I think, to do well. This one, look at this, Knight of Dandelions, Knight of Swords. He's so cute. I think this is my favorite card in the whole deck. He's just so cute. So yeah, I'm thrilled with this one. This will probably be like a spring deck, a summer deck. I might even take this deck on hikes with me because I think it would look cute with the Great Outdoors Tarot. It would probably look good with the Prairie Majesty. I feel like the colors would go well together. So yeah, that is the Enchanted Feline Companion. Oh, this is the book, Enchanted Feline Tarot. So the book is great. It does have color photos, doesn't it? No, I lied. It has little tiny thumbnails throughout, which I appreciate. Like I guess it's nice to have the bigger picture, but I don't really need it in my book. So just a little write-up, and it just continues from one to the next. It's not one per page or anything. So it's 150 pages. I think it's perfect. I think the whole package is perfect, and I really truly hope that Llewellyn makes a shift toward this kind of packaging, because it just, as much as I enjoy the bigger book, they are pretty, but this makes a lot more sense, especially for those of us who have a lot of tarot decks. It starts to get difficult to store. So that is the Forest Felines Tarot, Enchanted Forest Felines Tarot. Love it. Okay, so those are the decks I brought in. And then, like I said, the Way Home, which I've not received yet. I only ordered it yesterday. So, all right, the decks I used this month are the Vintage Christmas Tarot. This one has made the rounds on social media. I want to say most people have seen it. So, I don't know. Do I need to... Maybe I'll just kind of do this and flip through that way. I really enjoy this deck. Yes, it's AI. It's been confirmed. Well, okay, it hasn't been confirmed because I don't think the creator has yet said that it's AI, but let's be realistic. It's AI. I'm okay with it. I think it's beautiful. It's literally the only Christmas deck I have that I like. There are a few others that are okay, but I don't have them, and I enjoy this one. It reads well for me. The colors are lovely. Like I said, it looks beautiful with the Dream Song Oracle. This is my Christmas deck. I'm fine with it. It's just a lot of fun, and it's pretty. It just speaks well. I don't get an AI feel from it. It doesn't give me that vibe, which, I think that's important. So I think that's a lot of the issue. That's not even true. I'm not even going to get into it. Doesn't matter. It's cute. This is by Hattie Thorne on Etsy. I'll link everything below. She has a lot of other decks. I think she has a summer one. She has an oracle of this one. I want to say she has a spring. I think she has a fall. And a lot of the images are very, very similar. Like it's almost the exact same image, but like in a different outfit, you know? So I won't be getting any of her others, I don't think. This one's perfect. This is the one I want from her. This is the back, which I love. Can I shuffle this deck? It's a good question. I think so. Why I don't remember, I don't know. But let's put this back together and we'll see. I feel like that's an important thing to know. At least it is for me. If I'm deciding on a deck, I want to know if it's riffle shuffleable. No, it is not. It's really, really not. It's quite stiff. So, it feels good though. I don't know anything about cardstock, but it doesn't feel cardboardy. It's nice. It has like probably a UV finish if I had to guess, but it overhands beautifully. It's nice and slick without being glossy. I want to say it's probably a satin. So yeah, I'm thrilled with this one, and I used it all throughout the month. I'm probably done with it now. I've just this morning set it aside. I am not one to keep Christmas things out. We are actually going to be putting Christmas away tomorrow. Most of the time I'm excited to get it all out. I love looking at it. I love plugging in the tree every day, but once Christmas is over, I'm done. Like I want to move on and move forward and get to the next thing. So that is the Vintage Christmas Tarot. Okay, next that I've been using is Remembering the Sweet Fool Tarot, and this one will actually carry through September. It will carry through January for me. This is very much a winter deck, less about Christmas, more just winter, and I thoroughly enjoy this deck. I want to say, oh, okay. So I did not bring in the Lost Oracle this month. I brought this in last month, but this Oracle and this tarot look gorgeous together, and I wanted to show them because I'll show this specific spread that I did the other day. I pulled 3 cards and I got these 3, and I was blown away by the message, by the synchronicities between the 3, and it was one, sometimes you just pull cards and they just stick. Like I thought about them all day. Like it was just a perfect reading. Yeah. So, okay. So how am I going to do this? How do I want to do this? I guess we'll just, so, okay. The Lost Oracle. This is another one that I sort of went back and forth on. The artwork, I don't know, sometimes it's just not something I feel like I can work with, but I really like the colors. I like rock pools, cardstock. These are the backs. Yes, people have mentioned that the backs do kind of rub off. Like you can kind of see it a little bit here. It rubs off on some of the lighter cards, but I read someone's comment somewhere, I have no idea where, that it erases easily. So I'm not overly worried about it. It doesn't really bother me. But I thought these two looked really pretty together, and especially for kind of that winter, I don't know, quiet, dark, sleepy time of the year. I thought it was nice. I think the Lost Oracle would also do well in the fall for obvious reasons, just its color palette. But I thought these looked really nice together. And if you've been here a minute, you know that just the fact that these have different color backgrounds, if a deck has a different color backgrounds on the cards and I like the artwork, it's gonna be mine. So just the way it works out. But I thought these looked nice together. I like that it has kind of a couple keywords. I guess technically it has like 2 statements. Like this one's Harvest of the Heart and Balance, Strength, and Vulnerability. It has multiple messages here for you that you can bring together. I think you can get a lot out of it just by looking at the card, which I have come to learn, while that isn't necessary for me to use an Oracle deck, I do enjoy it, especially on mornings where, I just want to I just want to pull some cards right before work. Or I just want to pull cards right after work just to get into a journal session, and I don't necessarily want to sit and read the guidebook. I do enjoy reading the guidebook now and then, but sometimes it's nice to just be able to look at the card and get what you need from that. So I thought these were beautiful together. The artwork obviously is different, but I don't know, I feel like they speak to each other well. And Remembering the Sweet Fool is one of my top tarot decks. I really enjoy this deck, and I think I'm coming to terms with the idea that I really like photography decks. I think you get as much out of a photography deck as you do a hand-drawn deck. I feel like the energy that goes into it is equal to a hand-drawn deck. And that's coming from a person who, you know, I did photography professionally for years. So I know the amount of work that can and usually does go into getting the photo that you want. Hopefully this is still, yes, okay, good. So that is Remembering the Sweet Fool, found on Etsy, and The Lost Oracle by Rockpool. So I just thought I liked the keywords with it. I liked how it kind of spoke with the tarot. And I only used those two. Honestly, I really used those once, and I think I posted to Instagram when I did. Where did I put the guidebook? Well, I don't know where I put the guidebook. Oh well. It'll come back to me. I'll find it. Oh, I know where it is. Haha. Anyway. I'm okay saying that I used, you know, any tarot deck, any oracle, even if I just used it once, you know, I'm okay with that. Using it is using it. So, okay, next that I used is the Little Bird Tarot. This was funny. I did not take this for a winter deck, but for some reason it felt appropriate to use this month. So, I mean, I don't know. Does it have to be wintry to feel usable? This one I also paired with the Dream Song Oracle. I won't go through the whole deck because probably, you know, we've already gone through the whole deck of Dream Song, and I'm assuming you've seen Little Bird, so. But I wanted to show a few because I did think they looked nice together. Okay. We're getting there. Okay, so one of the things I noticed about this pair is that Little Bird Tarot, admittedly, is kind of hard to pair, to find, you know, oracles that pair well with it. And I think it's because the background is more yellow than parchment. I mean, it's not yellow, but it leans more yellow than parchment, right? It's warm. And the tones of this feel very vintage because they are vintage. I don't know, I've just had a hard time matching oracles with it, but the Dream Song Oracle, its tones just suit it very well. So I have used these together a few times this month and very much enjoyed it. Little Bird Tarot is technically out of print at this point. I have 5 decks left that I'm holding off listing because I want to make sure everyone who just recently ordered receives theirs in the mail. That was one thing I really felt was important, was having enough decks that if for some reason one of the decks got lost in shipping, I would have enough to, you know, send a replacement. So I'll be listing those one at a time on Etsy. I'm not sure, I don't know. I hate to do it because I feel like then it causes, like, I don't know, panic of like, oh my God, am I gonna get one? I don't like that feeling, and I don't like to contribute to that feeling, but I don't know a better way to do that while still making sure, you know, the deck gets received in one piece. So I'm sorry, that's the way I'm doing it. Am I doing a second print run? I'm not sure. If I do a second print run, I doubt I'll be doing a Kickstarter. I will likely either be doing a pre-order on Etsy, or I may just put it up on Make Playing Cards, but I just feel like Make Playing Cards is not the best place to sell decks. It just, you know, it's hard to search on that website. It doesn't get a lot of attention. I don't know. It's not my favorite place to list and sell from. I've bought decks there. Like, I don't have any issue with it. I just think as a seller, it's not doing me any favors. So I'm not sure. If I do a pre-order for a second edition, some of the cards, at least one or two, will very likely be changed. I might make some changes to the box. I don't know. We'll see. I think a few changes will happen, and I don't really know when a second edition will happen, if it does, so I'm not sure. Keep an eye on Instagram. That's where I will announce if I do go ahead and do that. So that's the Little Bird Tarot. And let me get Dream Song put away again. The last deck I used this month, oh gosh, oh, I'm just losing parts. I love the concept of having the bags come with the deck, but I just feel like now I have this pressure of holding onto this bag just in case I want to rehome it. I don't know. It's annoying. It's a nice touch, I guess, but also annoying. It's in the way. Anyway, the last deck I used was Seasons of the Witch Yule Oracle. I'm so on the fence about this series of decks. Love the concept. I love having, you know, I have all of them other than, what is it, Ostera that's left, I think, which will come out in the spring. I enjoy having them. I don't know. Maybe it's the messages that don't quite speak to me. I have a hard time using them. I love to pull them out, and in theory, they're great to have for the seasons. I just don't really find myself drawn to using them. I do use them, but I'm never like blown away. How about that? Especially these earlier versions. I don't really understand these sayings on the bottom, so I do dig into the guidebook a little bit more. But like, if by night the world should sleep, a sleep so deep the silence be deafening, there would sound nothing at all nothing would sound. Like, what? I give to you my heart's intent, wrapped in gratitude and thankfulness. Okay, that makes sense. Devotion in exchange for your presence, here I am gifting my essence. I mean, okay, I guess that makes sense. Offerings. It breathes in the stillness of all that is, exhaling all that isn't, coming from the ends of the starts and the highest of the lows. Here I gasp for the answers to unfold. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not much of a poet. Maybe I would understand it more or have more of an appreciation if I had more of an appreciation for poetry. I don't know. I'm like, okay, in thy womb of blissful quieting and calming stillness lives the world of worlds, spellbound to the silence. I just can't quite wrap my brain around it. Like, I get that it's poetic, and I appreciate it for that, but I don't get anything out of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not going deep enough. Maybe I'm not allowing enough time for each of the cards. So I'm not sure. Is this a deck or / series that I'll get rid of ever? Probably not. Just having the whole series is nice, and I know that if I were to get rid of it, I would regret it. And at this point, you know, where I've got all of them, it would be a hassle to repurchase all of them. So they're here to stay. I have not yet learned how to appreciate the messages. And I do like the messages on a couple of the newer decks. I feel like they're a little easier to digest than these. And maybe that makes me simple. I don't know. 'Tis what it is, but that's the last deck I used this month. And holy moly, it's getting dark. Hopefully It's only 11 o'clock, so hopefully it's not too dark on the camera. Okay, let's talk about books I finished. There were not very many. I didn't read a ton this month. Work has been, I work retail, and December, it's insane. So I come home tired a lot of nights. But I did finish a couple. Okay, so the first one I finished was Grimm Curiosities by Sharon Lynn Fisher. This was an Audible book that I listened to. Let me make sure I don't have anything weird written on here. Okay. This one was enjoyable. I listened to it on Audible and I really liked it. I give it 5 stars. It was Christmassy, well, Yule. It talked about basically, gosh, I'm so bad at like recapping books. It had little spooky aspects to it. I'll be honest, do I even remember the main character's name? No, I don't. And here I am trying to pretend like I do. I don't hold on to books. I read them, I enjoy them, I put them away, and I move on. It was an enjoyable book. It had a lot of like magical aspects to it. The drama, that kept you going was light enough that it wasn't stressful. It wrapped up nicely, and I thought it ended well. It was probably a little predictable, but I don't think the author intended it to be like, a twisty turny anything. So highly recommend if you want something Christmassy or Yule themed. Wait until next year, but pick this one up. It was worth it. Next is The Snow Child. So this is another one I read with my best friend. We read this one together. We read, I want to say, 2 chapters a night, which, some of these books are so easy to read a couple of chapters because they're like 4, 5, 6 pages long. So it's kind of perfect to just spend 20 minutes reading the chapters and be able to discuss without spending a ton of time on them. So The Snow Child, I feel like this one probably made the rounds when it first came out. I assume, I don't know when it came out, doesn't really matter, but it was good. It didn't get very deep, which is fine. Again, deep book, I'm just not in the mindset for a deep book, so it was a little bit sad. There were parts in there that I could relate to, which made me a little bit sad. But like in a good way, in like I'm reading a book and I can relate to that kind of way, not in I should put this book down kind of way. So I would recommend. It was good. It ended well. It did kind of keep me guessing throughout the book. Like I couldn't quite decide what was real and what wasn't. Something I thought was interesting in this book that I don't think I've seen in any other book was that I realized, okay, so I got about halfway through the book when I realized that the author doesn't use quotes around the speech parts, which I thought was so weird. And literally, I don't know, maybe I'm just a ding dong, but it took me another quarter of the book. So I think about 3/4 of the way I realized that only when one character was talking to or being spoken to, that was when the author chose not to use quotations. Everyone else in the book, when they spoke, they did get quotations. So I think had I picked up on that earlier, I think I would have like sunk into it a little bit more than I did. But anyway, regardless, it was interesting. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. It was a fun one to read with a friend. So next was The Witch of Blackbird Pond. This was written, I want to say in like the 60s, but I read it in junior high school. And for whatever reason, I thought of it a couple months ago, along with a couple others that I had also read in junior high. So I picked them up used off of eBay. This was one of them. And I don't know, for whatever reason. Oh, I do know. Okay. This is the coolest thing that happened to me this month. Maybe. I don't know. It was very cool. So out of the blue, I thought of this book. So I picked it up and I was reading it. I got, I don't know, halfway through or so. And there was a line in it or a scene where, a group of young people were sitting around their house, sitting around the fire, reading poetry to each other. And one of them pulls out the book and starts reading the poem. And he says who the book is written by, who the poetry is written by. And it's written by Anne Bradstreet. So the character in the book is reading a book by Anne Bradstreet, who is one of my grandmothers. And I just about died because I only figured her, I learned about her earlier this year. And I just, it gives me goosebumps right now thinking about it. I just think, what are the odds that some random book that I read in junior high school came back to me, calling me to read it. I find it used on eBay or wherever, thrift books. And it brings up this woman who I just discovered is a grandmother. I don't know. The world just works in the coolest ways sometimes. And I just about died. And I told my husband about it and he was like, oh, cool. Yeah. Nobody cares as much as I did, but it was a cool little discovery. So this will be a forever book, and I just thought it was really cool. So I'm currently reading, I don't know, 3 or 4 other books that I've not yet finished. I don't think I'll finish any of them before the end of the year, so I will save those for January. But I think that's kind of it. Christmas is over. I don't know where the time goes every year, but here we are, and here we are. That's it. That's all I have to say, I guess. This will likely be, I don't know. Yeah, no, it's going to be the last video of 2024, so I will see you guys at the beginning of 2025 next week, and thank you, as usual, for being here. I always appreciate the feedback and the fun conversation that I have, and that's why I'm here. I want to say something. I'm just going to gripe for just half a second before I go. I don't understand being on social media and not replying to comments. I don't. I guess, if you've got more than 50 comments, and 50 is a lot, I understand that. If you've got more than 50 comments, you've got hundreds or thousands of comments. I completely understand not answering every single one. I get it. But when a person doesn't have a lot of followers, and a lot is relative, I understand that everyone's time is different, but what is the point of being here if we're not going to comment on someone's comment or reply to someone's comment? For someone to sit here and watch my video, whether it was 5 minutes or the whole 30 minutes or an hour, however much they watched it, for them to stop and take the time to comment about something that I said or something that was brought up, or a memory of that, to just give out that energy, for me not to reply does not make sense to me. And so I don't understand when I go to other people's, not necessarily just YouTube, social media in general, when I go to someone's social media account and I comment and I give them my energy and my time to, especially, if I make a compliment or, I don't know, bring up something specific that they said or that they showed, and then, I don't know, it just feels so, it feels icky to me to just get, a like back on my comment. I think it's weird. I guess, and my point being is that if you're here and you're watching me and you comment, I will comment back. I just will. I will every single time. If I don't comment for 2 weeks, if I don't comment for a day or two, it's probably because I've missed it. It is easy to do. Sometimes I have this toxic trait where I see the comment and I'm dying to read it, but I don't have time. Like maybe I'll see it at work or at the very end of my day where I've decided to put my phone away for the night. And instead of leaving that as a new notification so that I'm reminded to come back to it, I read the comment and I think, oh, I'll come back to it. Sometimes a few days will go by. There's been a couple times where a couple of weeks have gone by and I feel really bad because I do want to comment. I want to notice that you're here. I want to acknowledge that you took time to say something to me, whatever it is. So if it's been a minute, that's why that I've missed it. But I have learned that if I go into the YouTube app the YouTube creator app, I think it is, I can dig around and find unanswered comments. So I will always answer you. Sometimes it might take me a minute if I've missed it, if I've done that where I've not left the notification up. But I guess all of that to say, you guys being here means something to me. Like it feels important to me. You know, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you commenting. I enjoy it. That's why I'm here, is to make those connections and have the conversations. So yeah, I guess all of that to say, if you make the effort, I will make the effort back. So I appreciate you, and I hope you guys enjoyed your Christmas, your Yule, your winter solstice, your holiday in general, your season of anything. I hope it's been a good one. So I will catch up with you guys next week. Bye.